All right, so we want to talk about Nolan Wells today.
Did y'all see the video of the two girls detailing the condition of Nolan Wells' body when it was transferred? I do want to give a trigger warning because it's definitely hard to hear.
All right, so we want to talk about Nolan Wells today.
So today, we actually know someone that works transporting bodies, human remains, and things like that. So today I got a call from that person, and they were just talking about the body that they
came across. This was Nolan Wells.
So before knowing all that, he said that the body was mistreated.
Yeah.
It looked abused. It looked like he was tortured. Looked as if he was burnt, maybe.
Where?
Face, body, said he was burnt.
And not only that, his body was mistreated when they transported him.
So as they were transporting him, he was actually face down. So everyone knows when you're transporting a body, when, only a couple of people work that job, they all know you don't transport the body face down. That's kind of very disrespectful. So you always have them face up. Well, specifically his body whatever reason was face down. And me personally, I took that as disrespect.
Yeah.
Heart goes out to the family.
Yes, definitely.
Because all we know is what they put out
on the internet.
But today, we actually found out a lot about his autopsy without even reading the autopsy.
Yeah.
That shit is so sad to hear, and it's so frustrating that they wouldn't even put that out there from the jump. Like, if y'all know the condition of his body, y'all know that he was tortured, y'all know that somebody did something to him, but y'all still wanted to come out talking about there's no signs of foul play and all that other bullshit. If you saw his body and y'all had to identify him through DNA and dental records, then y'all know that there was foul play involved. So why even try to run with that narrative that there was no foul play? Hopefully his family is able to view his body soon so they can confirm if that is the condition of his body and get the autopsy started so that we can get some real answers to what really happened to Nolan. If y'all want to watch the full video, y'all can go to her page. Her name is in the description.
Authorities initially said Nolan drowned, no foul play, case closed. Today they're stating that they've received valuable information from the public and this investigation is not going to be rushed. I wonder why the tone changed. Is it just that they want to have a more thorough investigation? Have they had a more productive tip? What is that? I wonder.
I just received this message in my inbox and it says, I was present during the events involving Nolan. Nolan was on the island with a girl while he had his phone. He later returned to his friends and they all sailed back to shore. After that, his phone's location moved back and forth before ending up at Evan's house where a pool party was taking place. That makes sense because Nolan's mom said that when she looked at the at360, she kept seeing how it was moving here and there. And it says around 1 a.m., Nolan had asked for his phone back after he had been taken by the thugs. A physical altercation followed. He said they observed Nolan gasping for air and coughing up blood. On July the 5th, search teams did not find Nolan. But based on the timeline and the information available to him, I believe that his body was moved sometime late in the evening of July the 5th or during early hours of July the 6th, which would explain why Nolan's dad said that Nolan's body was not there when they searched that same area, which they are saying that's exactly why there was nothing found in the initial search for Nolan. They said they also believe that Nolan was unalive between July 5th or either July the 6th. Those final conclusions are their personal beliefs based on them being a witness and knowing. Unfortunately, they weren't on the island to witness or give direct times of the dumping of his body. It's unfortunately being covered up. One of the boys' mom, who is a judge, went to her house and that's where the boat was cleaned because she knows what to use to clear evidence because she is a judge. This is truly sad. Now, I did see a snapshot shared on the news of the said search boat at the judge's home because apparently she lives on the intercoastal way where, boats are docked or what have you. And just to show you real quickly, these are the messages that I just received in my inbox.
So, Tracy, what his parents think happened here? Do they believe this was just an unfortunate accident, tragedy, or that it's something more sinister?
I was in Ocean Springs when it happened, and I was still in disbelief when I got the news that Nolan was missing. So when I got all the details surrounding the case, that they told me he was out at Horn Island, and he came up missing or whatnot. I talked with his dad, and we just had conversation. That was kind of after the fact when they had found his body, because I was just giving the family their respect that they deserve, and when everything first took place. But I was sharing all the detail that the family was sharing, just putting the word out there, and just so everybody could be on notice and everybody be paying attention.
When you say you talked to the dad, did he kind of accept this as an accident and a tragedy, or was he more suspicious?
Well, no, he was more so just searching for answers right now, because it had just happened, and there was a lot of questions still unanswered.
Usually high school football stars have a pretty close relationship with their coaches. What can you tell us about just Nolan as a human being?
Nolan was a great young man, with a big personality. Everybody gravitated to Nolan because of his smile. He just wanted everybody to be happy, and he was a joy to coach, a joy to be around. To sum Nolan up, long story short, Nolan is a guy that I would let date my daughter.
I mean, there were rumblings that he may have gotten into an argument, that there might have been a confrontation or something like that. I mean, was he a guy who would stand up, where, his hackles would go up, or was he more of a get-along type guy?
He's more of a get-along type guy. Don't get me wrong. Now, if something happened, he'll defend himself. But I knew right then in that video that wasn't Nolan.
One of the theories is that that he was drinking and that there was a riptide that day and that maybe he got caught in a bad current out there. Knowing him as an athlete, and we've heard that he did know how to swim, would that surprise you if he ended up in that situation?
I mean, it would surprise me, that happened, but like I said, man, I'm just waiting till the family, give out, details of what they done gathered.
Was there racial tension at this school?
No, I don't think it was no racial intention at the school, from my experience. Cause you have, predominant white school, you have black kids there, and they all, played and grew up together and got along. Now, some stuff might have happened that I didn't see. So, I can't speak wholeheartedly on it, but from what I did see, it was a tight-knit community, you know what I mean?
We have the latest news about Nolan Wills. His father is saying he does not want to believe that race played part in his son's death.
I want to talk about the details that are confirmed in Nolan's case. We have a semi-timeline, and then I also want to talk about one of Nolan's friends that was there on the 4th of July, Warren Hudson, and also a message that his mom sent to somebody. Okay, first, let's talk about the timeline. So this comes from Will Polston. He's a journalist that I follow on Facebook. He has broken down the things that we know and the things that we don't know. So the first known thing is that Nolan went to Horn Island on a boat with his friends. Nolan was last seen at 3 p.m. on July 4th on the west tip of Horn Island. Nolan's mother made the initial phone call to police near midnight on July 4th. So I've seen a lot of comments saying that, because I believe this at first too, that the boys went back and then reported it to the police, but they didn't. They didn't say anything to anyone. It was Nolan's mom, once he didn't come home, who called law enforcement. Family confirmed on social media of his passing. We know that to be true. And then Nolan's autopsy is scheduled for July 7th, which is today. And that's going to be extremely telling when those results come back. Unknown things are, one, who was last seen with Wells specifically. We know that his friends were there. We know there was a girl there. We know who the girl was. Why did Nolan end up in the water? Because he was found in the water. Why did Nolan not come back with the friends that he went with? And why did no one from the island call to report Nolan missing? And let me reiterate, 2 days ago when I first heard about this, I believed that his friends, because I had read it somewhere, I believed that his friends had gone back and then they reported it. But it was not his friends. They did not report him missing. It wasn't until midnight that Christine, his mother, called law enforcement and reported Nolan missing. We haven't talked about many of the friends on here in depth. This right here is Warren Hudson. He is one of the friends. We use that term loosely. I follow somebody on Facebook called Boogie Lowdown. I've also been talking about this case, and he has posted a lot of information and, posting about all of these boys, men, whatever we want to call them. And Katie Hudson Seymour is the mother of Warren Hudson, and she was not happy that he was posting about her son. So Katie went ahead and sent Boogie a message, and he posted the screenshots, and I want to share them here because the things that she said in the message before she deleted her Facebook account are pretty interesting to me. So I am going to make a video just separately of her messages, the highlighted part. Let's talk about that. So we just read who was confirmed to have reported Nolan missing on July 4th, and that was his mother, Christine. Katie says in this message to Boogie that her son, she said, he was the first person that noticed he was missing when they got back to their friend's house and called his mother, the Coast Guard, and the sheriff's office. That is a lie. Before y'all call me a liar, because the comments are crazy on some of these videos, before y'all call me a liar, do your research too and go and see if any of these boys, if anybody before Christine reported Nolan missing, because it didn't happen. I'm going to flash through the messages. So I don't know if y'all see it too. I would love to hear your opinions. I'm only human. I might be wrong about certain things, but to me, I see this as one, a lie, and a clear as day contradiction. If you pause the messages and read through, she had this whole other story about how the boat broke down and all of this stuff. And now her account is deleted just like everybody else's. I want to say, because this has been like sitting with me in all of this, the last thing I want to do is disrespect Nolan's family. I have been blessed to have a platform like this where I can reach a decent amount of people. And if I were ever missing, I would want somebody to do the same for me.
Because our hearts go out to the family of 18-year-old Nolan Wells, who died after vanishing on a boat trip with friends on the 4th of July. Right now, it's an active police investigation that we are watching very closely. We are watching this very closely.
Every time that y'all keep asking me the same freaking question, I'm gonna keep responding, and I'm gonna and from now on, I'm gonna make a video for y'all, because y'all seem to not understand what preliminary means. It was vocalized that the preliminary finding was what I said. And since you guys seem to not know what preliminary is, I'm going to show you where the sheriff, Ledbetter, or however you say his name, said it out of his own mouth, that he feels that it was drowning, and he felt that there was no foul play, and the Navy Cajun guy said it as well. What part of preliminary you not get? That's who said it. It's so easy to Google, y'all. Like, it really is, and y'all are just y'all are making it so. Anyways, let me just add it.
They murdered that little boy, man. What Nolan Wells' parents found in his phone confirms beyond a reasonable doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they murdered that little boy, man. They murder him, and the police, the law enforcement agencies, the judges, coroners, everybody in that city responsible for this investigation is working in cahoots to make sure they get away with it. That little boy was murdered by some powerful people in that city, and they making sure them powerful people don't get held accountable. Nolan Wells' family has retained the services of Benjamin Crump to ensure Nolan gets justice, however that may be. They brought Benjamin Crump in to launch a private investigation into the death of Nolan, because whatever they have seen up until this point, they've seen enough to know they can't trust the local police department. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the only option they had if you take the circumstance into consideration. If this does end up being a murder investigation, if Nolan was murdered, one of the suspects, Warren Mama, is a sitting judge in the city. It's a small town. They all grew up together. The police department, the sheriffs, the detectives, people who were investigating this probably is coming in with biases. Oh, nah, Warren wouldn't do no such. Nah, not Ashley's boy. Ashley's boy will do no such thing. What? Wyatt, Eric? Nah, those are good boys. So they're already coming in with a biased eyes and a biased lens. They're going into this assuming these people did nothing wrong and Nolan just got drunk and drowned. Even though every single detail, every single evidence, every single piece of information that has come out has pointed into the opposite direction of that.
You mentioned earlier there are some contradictions. Yes. What gives you confidence or perhaps concern about the investigation so far?
Well, the fact that they continue to tell the family that we don't see any evidence of any foul play, even though you have students who recorded an altercation while they were on the boats of argument where you had Nolan and somebody yelling at one another on the boat. So that's the issue. And then you have the young lady make a statement and she says, well, Nolan and I finished talking and Nolan said he was going back to the boat. And then the boys on the boat said, no, Nolan told them he was going to stay with her. And so they are conflicting. She's saying he went and got on the boat. They saying he didn't get on the boat. So which is it? And all we know is Nolan is dead.
I've never seen a police department in such a hurry to close out an investigation. They have refused to take any of the new evidence into consideration. And let's slow it down for a second. The story they're giving us doesn't make sense. The story that Nolan friends are giving us doesn't make sense. And it shouldn't make sense to a trained police officer. Nolan came to Horn Island with Wyatt, Warren, and Eric. They were on the boat with Nolan. Wyatt, Warren, and Eric claim they left the island without Nolan. They have no idea where he was, even though they came together. Their excuse is Nolan told us he wasn't going to come with because he was busy talking to this chick called Katie that he liked and he hit it off with while he was on the island. Then Katie said, hell nah, he wasn't going home with me. We actually cut our conversation short because he told me he had to go back to the boat with his friends. So which one is it? Who do we believe, Katie or Warren, Wyatt, and Eric? The reason why I tend to believe Katie's account of things is because Ashley Cole, Warren's mama, told on themselves.
So what we're going to do is kind of have a party to celebrate him.
As for yesterday's meeting, the family's legal team, along with the DA's office, have agreed to a mutual inspection of Wells's cell phone. That could potentially be a key piece of evidence in this investigation. Meanwhile, the family is also still waiting for the results of a state-conducted autopsy, as well as the results of one that they are conducting independently as well. Attorney Crump told us yesterday that those results should come back very soon.
So when we made it home, my sister and I actually went through Nolan's cell phone, particularly Snapchat, because that is so popular with the children. And when we opened it up, there was nothing. There were no saved pictures. There were no snaps from that day. And we did open it before the 24-hour expiration. So we found that very concerning, only because anyone who's ever been around Nolan will tell you at social gatherings, he's taking videos, he's taking pictures, he's even come up to me when I'm getting ready to go to bed, hey mom, come on, take a picture of me. You know, like he just, that was Nolan. So that's why we feel that things may have been deleted, was because of the fact that there was nothing in either one of his accounts. But I do want to say this. I would hope that any parent who, God forbid, would be in our situation, I would hope that you would do the same thing. I would hope that you would ask for any help, receive any help to get answers, because at the end of the day, that's all we want. We just want to know. We just want to know what happened and why our baby didn't come home. Like that's our biggest thing. And we are so grateful to everyone, family, friends, classmates, United Cajun Navy, everybody that's assisted us. We appreciate you. There's not enough thank yous that we could say or give to you, but I just, we just want to know. We want an honest, thorough investigation. That's all we're asking for.
Wow. Can you believe that the death of Nolan Wells has gone international? People are checking in from Canada, from Tobago, from Johannesburg, from England, talking about justice for Nolan Wells. Powerful. And this is how you know that we know that the stories that's being told about Nolan Wells, saying it was an accident, is far from the truth. But one thing about the truth is that the truth will always prevail. Everything that's done in the dark, it will always come to the light. And it doesn't matter your status, your class, your socioeconomic, your resources, who you know, judge, sheriff. Because at the end of the day, the world is watching. And all we want to know is what really happened to Nolan Wells. All we want to know is the truth.
Nolan Wells' body was mistreated during transit from DC to Mississippi, from Mississippi to DC. So one of my mutuals on social media knows someone who works in the transit department at an airline. They witnessed what they saw and smelled, okay? Nolan's body, for one, was treated without any dignity. Anybody knows when you are dealing with the remains of a human being, the number one rule is to treat them with dignity. They may no longer be here in body, but they are still here in spirit. And the way they describe the way Nolan's body was transported is fucking ridiculous. It's very unprofessional, because this is still an ongoing investigation. So who knows the way y'all treated his body during transit? They said his body was not right side up. He was face down during transit. That is so inhumane and sick to even fathom, to vision it, like just to vision it. It's horrible. There was an odor. They said his body looked like he had been burned. And I know that's more than likely due to, decomposition. His body is unfortunately decomposing. And I don't know if y'all have any loved ones that has been transported from state to state when they were unalive. My grandmother was. And the cabin that they put them in, it's hot. It's like they're cargo on a ship. You are on a plane. You can be on a plane right now going to Aruba, and there's some dead bodies on the plane with you either getting transported to or from. But it's just the fact that they mistreated this baby, not only in life, but now also in death. So I ask for anybody that has any access to providing the justice that needs to be had, y'all sink their asses. Bury them under the jail, and anybody that had anything to do with this cover-up.
Tired of y'all trying to say that these thugs lawyered up because of what's being said about them. Because let us just be real. When Nolan's father went over to those thugs' house to get Nolan's car keys back, this man said in a conference that they was already rah, all hype energy, all type of disrespectful to this man. Imagine having to put your own feelings aside, concern about your son and where he is, so that you can calm these thugs down to get his car keys back. And mind you, he had to plead. Basically, man, can y'all please give me my son's keys back? Because Wyatt said he didn't have them. Mind you, after he gets the keys back, they immediately lock the door. They don't hear nothing else from them, and they called the police on this man. Okay, now moving on. Now, even after that, now we're talking about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, Nolan's parents, along with other search parties, went out there to search for Nolan. No one anticipated or went out there looking for a dead body. They assumed that they was going to find Nolan alive. Mind you, while they're out there searching for Nolan, them thugs don't even show up, but they lawyered up. So stop that narrative.
There was several young people in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, that went out on the water. One black and his accompanying friends, all white. They came back. He didn't. He was missing. They had no explanation. There was no sighting of him. Finally, after desperate searches, his body was discovered and he was dead. 18-year-old Xavier died. And his family says they don't know why. On Friday, their parents and Attorney Ben Crump and I will meet at the new House of Justice of National Action Network in Harlem and called on a full and transparent investigation. We're not saying what happened. We're saying that we must put pressure on those in authority in Mississippi that it is not normal. And in our history, coincidental that a group of young men go out, teenagers, 18-year-old, one black among others that are white, and the black goes missing. And the social media and phones down. And nobody explained that. So many people have talked about Xavier and what happened, what didn't happen, what could have happened, what should have happened. We are going to stand by this family and make sure the truth comes out. And we'll be doing his funeral next week in Ocean Springs. The job of activists is to be active. That's what I do. And I don't apologize for it.
I'm sorry, but none of this is making any sense. A phone seemingly wiped clean, Snapchat history gone, people lying, saying they saw him, some saying they didn't see him. 18-year-old Nolan Wells vanished on the 4th of July after a boat party with his friends. Friends are saying he stayed behind on this island to hook up with a girl, yet the girl is apparently saying, no, I saw Nolan get back on the boat with his friends. Who's lying? Also, his keys and his phone back on that boat with his friends, not with Nolan. Then, when the phone was recovered, no Snapchat history, things seemingly wiped clean. What's going on here? What is there to hide? Then, Nolan's body found 2 days later. Like I said, nothing is making sense. But are these red flags or are these red herrings? What really happened to Nolan Wells? I'm going through the details, the allegations, the social media history, what everybody is saying, breaking it all down, and very curious to know what you believe the truth is. The episode is out right now.
There was a fight on that boat. There was a fight on that boat. And after that fight, Nolan was unalive. What was that fight about? Who was he fighting with? Or who was fighting with him? And after that, he's unalive. And the next day, he's found. There's no way you should go on an island with your friends and leave someone behind. Now, unless you unalive him and knew that you threw him overboard in the water after you unalive him, there was a fight. And I strongly believe that fight was over that girl. That white girl. Believe me or not, it's still Mississippi. Deep Mississippi.
This is what happened. They all went to the island to party. Then they came back to another party at a pool. Then they killed the black dude at the pool. Then they took his body back to the island. The sheriffs know it. The judges know it. And everybody involved knows it. But now what are they using? They're using DARVO. What is DARVO? DARVO is deny, attack, and reverse the accuser and the victim, right? Now they're claiming, oh, the judge is a victim, right? Oh, we're victims now. We're getting, it's all fucking bullshit, man. You know what's going to come out of this Nolan Wells murder story? How corrupt our courts and law enforcement are. That's what's going to come out, because no matter what the Illuminati does going forward, it will all be exposed. The awakening is happening, right? It is the apocalypse, which means your eyes open. It's not Armageddon. So you watch what happens with this Nolan Wells story. First of all, this is a satanic ritual to try and start a race war. That's it. And now all the lies are coming out. Oh, we just found his body washed up on the beach. No, his body was beat to shit, man. Right? So what are we really learning here, people? Yeah. Did they kill a black man? Yes. Why? To start a race war. Why? Because they're fucking corrupt, and that's what the Illuminati does, man. Just like when I...
Trigger warning, this is an update on the Nolan Wells story. Once again, trigger warning, this is an update on the Nolan Wells story. So, the family of Nolan Wells was on with Michael Strahan this morning on the news, and they were telling the story. They said that, well, his mom, to be specific, said that his Snapchat was empty, which was not like Nolan. She said he always posted, especially when he was out with his friends. It was no post. He had 2 accounts. Both of them were empty. which, like any other high school kid, if something is going on or you're out with your friends, you're going to post at least 1 or 2 stories. For it to be empty, that's kind of weird. They talked about the text message thing. Attorney Crump said something that was real empowering. So Colin Kaepernick paid for the body to be sent up to DC because they want somebody who has no ties to the families down there in Mississippi. Right thing to do. Now, they're going to find out what was going on, and the mother says she just wants justice. She wants it to be properly put out as if it was somebody else's child of another race, color, or creed, which is absolutely right. I'm glad that they are on this case like this, and I'm glad they bringing it to the forefront on major news stations all across America. We need to do the same and continue to push the news as it comes out to update people, because people want to know. If it's not through Attorney Crump or his family, please, the GoFundMes you guys are sending me, I don't know if those are tied. I don't. And honestly, I told you guys what I think about GoFundMe type situations. If it's not from Attorney Crump or his family, please be aware, because people try to capitalize off of stuff like this. I'm going to update y'all when I get some more news. Prayers for Nolan Wells and his family. I'm just a messenger.
Y'all can be mad at me if you want, but this story is not sitting right with me at all. Because how does the only black kid leave with the group and end up being the only one who never makes it home? I'm not buying the "we thought he caught another ride" BS. I'm just not. He came with y'all. He should have left with y'all. Y'all also had his phone too. So make that make sense. Of course, here come the comments saying it's not about race. Maybe not. But explain to me why the only black teen who went out with a group of white boys is the only one who ended up dead. Y'all not gonna like this, but being the only black person in a group where nobody's looking out for you is not always the safest situation. And for these so-called friends to say they don't know what happened or they can't remember, that's not sitting right with me either. They weren't looking out for their friend, period. That's why I'm not buying what they're saying. Nolan deserved to make it home the same way every single one of his so-called friends did. My prayers are with his family, and I truly hope they get answers. And y'all, tell me if I'm wrong. If your friend shows up dead, but somehow nobody remembers anything, would you just accept that? Or are some of y'all so uncomfortable talking about race that you'll ignore every red flag sitting right in front of you?
There's no water in his lungs, so he couldn't have drowned. I'm a forensic scientist and a former CSI. I've gotten this comment in a couple of videos, and I really want to discuss it before it gets out of hand. The investigation into the death of Nolan Wells is getting a lot of attention, and with that comes misinformation, including posts like these from a user on Facebook who said that Nolan Water did not drown, no water in his lungs. This post has been shared almost 2,000 times. It has 5,000 likes and almost 800 comments. The problem is, it's not correct, because although an autopsy was conducted already by the state of Mississippi, there has not been any information released publicly about his cause of death. His autopsy results have not been made public yet. But even if it was true, the absence of water in somebody's lungs does not mean that they did not drown. In about 10 to 15% of drowning cases, people experience what's called a dry drowning, meaning there is no water in the lungs. I have personally attended the autopsies of drowning victims and seen cases where there was no water in the lungs. Oftentimes in drowning cases, we do see what's called a foam cone. This is an external finding. It's like bubbles or foam around the nose and the mouth. Unclear if that was present or not in this case. In drowning cases, like in other asphyxial death cases, these are often situations of exclusion, where after the autopsy, every other possibility for why this person died is excluded. In fictional TV and movies, they frame it to say like, oh, we know this person drowned because there was water in their lungs at autopsy or smoke in their lungs if they died in a fire. But in real life, that doesn't always happen. But again, to be clear, in this situation, we don't know one way or the other because posts like these are not backed by any publicly accessible information.
Now we all have an idea of why Nolan's friends is quiet on the motherfucking creek, okay? Because we got the GPS tracking, baby, and GPS tracking does not lie. But it also doesn't explain the actions of a person during that time unless it's captured on surveillance or we got hardcore motherfucking evidence. But here's what we do know. We do know that the boat left from its original dock at 9:56 a.m., made it to Horns Island at 11:14. And not gonna lie, I'm gonna give them credit. They did say they left the Horns Island without Nolan around 4:30-ish. Around that time, they did. It shows that they left Horns Island at 4:31. and went back to the original dock and made it there at 4:35. But what's not accounted for is the fact that they had left the original dock at 4:35 and went to Fort Bayou. That was never mentioned. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, and after they left from Fort Bayou, they went back to the original dock, made it there at 6:06 p.m. And guess what, y'all? They went back to Fort Bayou, made it there at 7:19. So these are additional stops that they have made, and they will have to answer to. And that's all I'm gonna say.
I know by now a lot of you have seen the video where the two women who received information about Nolan Wells' body being transported to DC for the independent autopsy. If you haven't, let's talk about it. So yesterday I was going through my feed and I came upon this video where two women were saying that they know someone that directly works with the office that handled the transport of Nolan's body. And I think that the person works for the coroner's office or, you know, whoever's handling that independent autopsy. All of this is speculation because, of course, we can't fact check because they didn't mention the person by name, because actually the information that was shared, if the person is mentioned by name, they can be found liable and all of that stuff, right? What the women expressed was that, one, Nolan's body was transported face down, not on his back, right? They cited that the person told them that he was burned and his body was deeply bruised and it really looked as though he was beaten up. Now, I'm going to say this. As a person that at one time in my life, I really wanted to be a mortician, right? We'll talk about that at another time. I do understand that, you know, after death, wherever the body is laid or however the body is laid, that's where the blood pools. So if your body is laid on your face after death, your blood will pool in your face, right? It can also make it very hard for autopsy to be taken place properly because it can throw off what they may deem as cause of death and whatever, right? And what have you. It even can throw off the appearance of the tissue. I am deeply hoping that he was not burned or beaten up in that way. And I'm not sure, you guys may say, you know, hope springs eternal, but just as a mom, as a Black woman, I pray that this is not the case. Attorney Crump has come out and said that the autopsy was in fact delayed. They were supposed to cite the autopsy findings on the 10th. That didn't occur yet. Those will be coming out. That's it for now. Any updates that come from this, I will share. That's it. Bye.
And we will not let the death of Nolan Wells be swept under the rug. It's fascinating the number of negative comments. Meet Lori Morris. Lori said, honey, only 66 people liked this post. I guess Lori thought that I was going to delete the post. I guess Lori thought that that would deter me from speaking up on this injustice. I guess Lori thought that this would silence my voice. But Lori, honey, since we're counting, this post now has over 1,000 likes and over 600 comments. Friends, let this be a reminder to say the quiet part out loud because our voices have power. Nolan Wells' story has gone from city to county to state and now national coverage because there is power in our voices and we will not be silent.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks. See you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below. One love.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.